pimp out your car. Then you pimped out your house. Now you're trying to pimp out the music world. But wait, I can help you with that. Patchwork Cables. They have the finest cables available and they're handmade. And welcome to Wednesday Night Mix. Tonight I've decided to slow things down a little bit and do a little bit of trap jazz. Trying to kind of get back into my R&B, jazzy kind of trappy sound. With that, I have been just kind of experimenting and working on things that have more musical substance to it. So let me just kind of walk you through what I've been doing. So I started out with kind of a guitar kind of sound with this one, and I'm using the Orange Tree Evolution Songwriter, which is an acoustic sampled guitar, and it has like a lot of really interesting modulators that you can select to give it more authentic type of guitar sound. So you can change the velocity settings, the key switches, the latches, the sustain pedal, and you can really get a really decent, authentic sounding guitar out of it. Let me just kind of show you what I started with this. Let me go back here. Okay, so I paired that with a Native Instruments Replica XT. I have been really loving the Replica XT a lot here lately. I'm digging more into using it because it has a lot of really nice, dreamy sounding presets that are just really interesting. I'm not normally a reverby kind of girl. I really like delays, but the way that they do them, it's very modern sounding. So it doesn't sound really white noisy to me. Lots of reverbs sound very artificial to me, which is why I don't like them. But this sounds very natural, very smooth. It doesn't sound like a bad room. That's the other thing about reverbs. It can sound like a really bad room to me. But this sounds really awesome. It gives it a lot of depth and image, which is really cool. So I've paired it with that. The other thing I experimented with is a pad sound, and I pulled out an old classic, the Korg M1, and the patch is called Waterworld, and it is a just really old school kind of pad sound. It has like these weird kind of things happening with it, and let me just kind of show you what I'm talking about with that. Let me find a spot in the song where it's at though. Yeah, right here. Come on, silly thing. So it has like a rainfall kind of watery sound to it, which is very texture kind of sound. So what I was truly after with this song is to have like a really calming, kind of really lush, really kind of calm, chill kind of sound. And that's really what I was really going for. So I tried to pull out as many calm kind of, suppressive sounds. Because I wanted it to be like really soft, not so soft that it's like boring soft, but soft to where it's like, you know, kind of smooth, laid back, kind of chill. From there, I added a kick, a snare, and some hats. The hats are doing the regular kind of crazy trap style hat stuff. Nothing to write home about. Everybody knows what those sound like. Um, I did do a sub lab, and my sub lab patch that I'm using again is going to be included in a pack that I'll release here. I promise you, I'm working really hard on this pack because I want it to be awesome. I don't want it to be junk. It's actual stuff that you're going to be hearing me use, so you already kind of know what you're getting in the pack. Um, so I really love messing with sub basses, and the best way that I found to get really good sub sounds is with Sublab. Um, in a previous video, I showed where I actually created the sounds. Um, well, I've continued to tweak the sounds and add additional um, tweaks to the sounds to make them a little beefier or a lot more distorted, depending on how I'm using them in the mix. And again, it's going to be included in the pack coming up. I'm not going to give you guys a promised date because I want to make sure that everything that I put in this pack is going to be legit and sound really good. But promise you, when it's ready, you'll get a big blast notification that, hey, my pack is done. It'll be a lot of fun. Okay, so the next thing I added was Omnisphere. So in the Omnisphere, I'm using a couple of things. I'm using what's called a coiled Nimbria 3, which is kind of a bell, kind of xylophone membra sound, and I layered that with the D50 Fantasia grains, and it is very dreamy sounding. And I'm doing that in the verses. It breaks up the verses and gives it kind of more kind of dynamic feeling. Let me just kind of show you what's going on with that. Let me kill that record button there. Kill that. Show you this Omnisphere right here. Okay, so I've noticed a couple of different things that I do need to tackle. I need to do some low cutoff because I want the sub to live in its own space. So let me just start there with this mix. So sometimes it depends on what kind of mood I'm in. I will just mix while I'm creating. And then sometimes I'll just wait till I get to the end and then try to determine what needs to go where and how. So with this, I'm going to add a FabFilter Pro Q3, and I'm going to do a low pass cutoff on it because my goal is to only have the sub live in that space. I can actually do that on the guitar as well. The guitar sounds awesome the way that it is, but we can suppress some of that low end out of it. Vocals, I've got vocals in there, and I'm going to show you what I did with those. I'm going to even do a low cut on that. And let's see this Omnisphere. We're going to low cut that. We're going to tweak it as we go here. And the last thing I added was this is an exhale, an output exhale, and it needs a low cut pass as well. And I paired it with a Replica XT, and it's a patch called Vox Angelus, and it's very dreamy, like I said. So that's the last thing that's going on with that. So let me figure out what else is needed. I think the kick is actually pretty punchy. So let's just look at the kick and how what it's doing. Get it into a section where I can actually hear just the kick. And let's see what that kick is doing. It's pretty punchy, but we can EQ it just a little bit to knock off some of that resolution at the top of it. It's kind of a poppy sound to me. And we can do that with a 1176. Yep. Okay, that's good. Okay, when you add more release, it adds more of that poppy sound that I'm not liking. So let's see how much attack we can put in there. So the way that I've been learning how to use the limiter compressors is, again, I'm using my ears exclusively for a lot of this stuff. Once you get into start playing with these, you really just need to spend time putting it on things and then just listening to the settings, changing the settings, and then just trying to understand what it's doing to the sound. Like I said, this release adds more of that poppy sound to the top end of it, and the attack seems to be giving me less of the poppy sound, but I want to make sure that the volume of it is not going to be overwhelming in the mix. So I think that's okay. All right, so now I'm going to add the snare, see what the snare is doing. The snare is very loud, and it has like I hear like the sound of the room that it's in, and while it is very controlled, it's almost like a reverb kind of sound, which is okay. I'm okay with that. Let's see. Put that back. I need to put this back here. All right. All right, so let's see. How can we control this? We could probably use the 1176 as well. Let's see. When you add release, it adds more of the room. Okay. Attack is okay. All right. Let's see what both of those sound like together. Okay, that kick. It sounds better. It doesn't sound like it really needs an EQ per se, but if I really wanted to mold it, I guess I could add an EQ to it. Let's just do a little bit of light EQing to it. I don't want it to be poppy, like overriding like in the mid-range. So let me add the hi-hats and see what they're doing. Okay, hi-hats can probably use a little love from the Fab filter. And I like using this hi-hat plugin. There's some couple presets. There's one called accenting hi-hat mids and low cut and bright. I think I want to do accenting. So it kind of accentuates the mid-range of it and not necessarily a whole lot of the high end. Okay. Alright, that's pretty good for that. But I'm going to add the sub in there too, just so I can see if they're all going to play well together. Let's see what the sub is doing. So it's not competing with the kick. Okay, so it looks like the rhythm section is playing well together. So now I need to worry about all of the strings and pads rather. So let me select all of those. And the guitar and that. And I need to do some panning because they're all kind of living in the same space. And we don't want them all to live in the same house. So we're going to just kind of pan them a little bit. Give them a little bit of room away from each other. So that they're not in the same exact frequency range. We'll leave this one down the middle. This is actually a pad, but it's exhale. And it's more of a voxy pad. Okay, so let me find a spot where all of them are at play. This is like that marimba kind of sound. Okay, so it sounds like everything sounds better with things being panned. Man, Arcade has bad ass sound packs in the distant voices. It reminds me a lot of Exhale. I was hoping that they would continue to like add additional packs to Exhale, but it looks like they're devoting more of their time towards arcade because they're constantly adding things to arcade. But the stuff they're adding is like bonkers crazy. Distant Voices has been out for some time, and it's right up there with Hooked. And this thing is like, it's got a lot of smooth ambient voices in it. And of course, they've added all these great modulator features, but hell, they're so awesome the way that they are without them. It's like you don't really need them. But I guess it depends on what you're using them for, too. So that Dreamy pad, the Waterworld pad, I kind of clipped the volume on it. I'm not sure how I did that, but it adds like really interesting texture to the sound. It's very odd sound. And you don't really necessarily ever know how to use those kinds of things until you really have to. Okay, I'm still questioning his kick. That little pop sound is driving me bonks. See what it sounds like with okay. So let me see what it's looking like from a overall mix perspective. Let's see what the tonal balance control is saying to me. Hopefully I didn't screw up the bass on it. I always really have to monitor my bass levels because I am a kind of bass junkie. I end up always having to mess around with the bass and getting it in the mix right. My bass is actually okay. Look at that. Teetering on the edge of being too loud. Goofiness. Sometimes using both of these DAWs at the same time can be really weird. I think I'm going to maybe not have this as be as wide. Let's see what that sounds like. Because the instruments are already doing this really big roomy thing, and sometimes we can overdo the imaging. All right. Okay, that sounds really, really, really good. I haven't sat down and written a song like this in a really long time. Um, Feeling like getting back into R&B, but I want to do it kind of in a different way. So I've been messing around with a lot of different stuff. I came up with some. I've been messing around with old school hip hop too, and going back and learning how to cut up slices or cut up samples and do the old sample chopping method. And I have a couple of songs that I've messed with that, and I'm still working to perfect that sound. But I also like the old school method of like that real instrumentation. I'm like a big fan of DJ Quick. I like the way he used to be able to blend like that real music instrumentation sounds to come up with this funky kind of really grimy old school sound. I really like that. And that's the sound I'm really kind of trying to get after. Trying to recreate that in this decade with, more trap style kind of feel, which is kind of a weird mix. But I hear it in my head and I kind of know where I want to go with it. But yeah, I'm a real big fan of DJ Quick from back in the day, and I love his music. And occasionally, you just want to pull out an old school Quick CD or an old school stream, an old school track from back in the day on Quick, and yeah. So let's see what else is standing out with this track. I need to double check my EQ settings. Let me do this one more time. I think everything sounds okay from a blending kind of perspective. So I have this vocal writer. Trying to keep it more contained from a volume perspective. Okay, cool. Much better. Okay, I think that is a good mix. The more time I spend with doing it, and which has been a lot lately, the more ways I see of doing things in different ways. Um, my drums don't have to always be super punch you in the face and kick you in the gut. So messing around with that 1176 will bring them into a more logical kind of sound, which is what I did. Hi hats, they're okay. They could be I didn't want them to be like super bright, like on top of everything. I just kind of wanted them to be there for keeping time. And hi-hats, to me, that's what they do. They keep time. Even though they may be doing something really weird, they're keeping the pace of the song. And sometimes I know I mix them to where you know that they're there, but also I'll sometimes add panning in there to give them dimension, and I'm not sure if I want to do that with this one. Let me think about it for a second. Yeah, they could add some dimension. It could be dimensional with this, so they're not stagnant. Because it's like the drums are like right in the middle. Everything is in the middle with the drums. The sub is in the middle. The kick is in the middle. The snare is even in the middle. I could actually move the snare off a little bit that way. And the hats, I could probably add. Let's do a Cable Guys pancake. We're going to put pancake in there, and we're not going to have it wildly swing out. We're going to have it do like a mild swing back and forth, and let's see what that sounds like. I don't want it to be too goofy. Cool. I don't want them to be the panning to be so drastic that it's annoying. Sometimes I could put too much panning in there that it's a distraction. It makes you hear just the hi-hats, and you kind of not hearing the rest of the instruments because you're so wrapped up in hearing the pace of the sound or pace of the song because of the hi-hats. And ooh, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay, let me get that. Alright, yep. I really like this plugin as well. It's very flexible from a panning perspective, but my other favorite is Pan Man by Soundtoys. Pan Man by Soundtoys has a lot more features that allow you to be able to manipulate the panning effect. It's more of like a like a synth based effect where you can add kind of modulation to your panning, which is very interesting. That's right up there with Shaper. A lot of people like Shaper for that very reason, or the Shaper box too, because it allows you to be able to add filtering and time change shifting and all of those really cool features at once. Okay, let's see. What else do I want to change? So I've got all of my drums kind of separated from each other. I have the snare kind of separated. Kick is down the middle. Sub is down the middle. Vocals are down the middle, but they're stereoized because I have added Echo Boy in there to give them more width. So they're no longer mono. When you add this kind of plug-in, it turns it into a stereo imaged kind of thing. So I've knocked off also some of the low end with it. And with my Omnisphere, I'm thinking about this one. It's something about those marimbas that sounds funny to me. So let me see. Glitchy. So I'm starting to get glitchy because I am running this video screen capture software along with I've got a lot of plugins running in this song. So my resources is peaking, and make sure that I don't have anything extra that shouldn't be open, and I don't. So that is all I have for this one. I'm gonna play some of the song, and that's all I've got for this one. If you are new to the channel and you're liking the content, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. And I'm gonna lead out with this song.